Jan, we finally get to sit down, man.
I can't believe it. Without golf clubs in between.
Yeah, I know. All right, so what? Okay, because look, I always see the George Lopez deal.
Yep.
Did you completely give the game up?
I completely gave it up. I will watch it. I mean, I'll definitely go watch it. I'll watch my sons play. I'll watch my daughter play. I don't have any pressure to be, to hold up the Harris, golf legacy, They're so much better than me, man. I just enjoy watching them play. And I got a father-in-law who was one of the people that got me into golf.
Right.
Who's 83 years old.
Wow.
He goes out and still plays 2-3 times a week.
Oh, that's what I'm saying.
And so, yeah, man. So I just enjoy watching them play. Father's Day, every once in a while, we'll get together.
Okay.
I might do a little putting and a little something, but nah, man, I can't.
I see. So that's the one thing I love about golf. I played in Cameron's Champ tournament, and there was a brother who was 91 years old. Mm-hmm. He plays golf all the time. Mm-hmm. And he was not slowing down our group. Right. And we were like, yo, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. I want to be 91 still playing golf.
Yeah. No, it's the greatest game, man. I was talking to, we went to watch, Tiger play and at his tournament. And it's such a great game, man. My kids grew up playing it, because of the etiquette, because of the, you have to tell the truth. Basically, right, you're keeping your own score. There's so many life lessons in golf, and also you're not necessarily competing against another person. You're competing against the course. So you all have that in common.
Well, the course, but also you're competing against you. Yeah. Because on that day, hey, look, your normal swing might be gone, so you like, I got to figure out what. One day I had an injury, and I could not bring the club all the way back. Uh-huh. So I had to play the whole round with a 3/4 or a half swing. Right. And so you can quit, right? Or you got to figure it out. Yeah, you got to figure it out. That's what I love about it.
Yeah, no, it's a life lessons, and it's a cruel game because you can go out and hit 20 bad shots, right? And you be like, I'm done with forget that game, and then you hit that one perfect one, and it just brings you right back to it. And that is the cruelest thing, man. It's crazy.
Now, actually, here's what I think is even crueler. You could shoot your best score ever, and you're gonna say, but damn, I could have shot. Yes. One more better. Let's say you broke 80 or let's say you broke 70. Right. You would go, damn, I could have shot a 68.
That's right. I just would have missed that.
That's why I tell people, there's no such thing as you played a perfect round. You can basketball players can hit all their shots. Yep. They can make all their free throws. But golf, it's going to be, damn it. Yeah. I could have, it just, that one shot. That's why I think it's right here.
Totally.
It forces you to really hone your mental state. Totally. And the cats who can't handle it, you go, I don't think you're gonna be able to handle the toughness when it comes to the office.
Yeah, you learn so much about people on the golf course. Do they shortcut? Do they cheat? Do they You know, is it I'm gonna look the other way? I mean, you know, that kind of thing. Like it's just, it's all kinds of lessons in there, man. It's such a beautiful game, man, and to watch those guys play it so well. But no, they're still struggling. They're still trying to figure, you know, stuff out. You know, even as they're out there, man. So
or when they lose a swing, like take a David Duval. How do you go from being number one in the world to literally you can't play? That is it is the craziest. And again, you sit. That's why I tell people all the time. I love people say, "Oh man, I'm not good as you." I said, first of all, let me be clear. We all were there. I don't care who you were. But that sucker could just leave. You could just. I mean, I remember I was playing around, bruh. I'm shanking everything. I cannot that scene in Tin Cup. Dude, I literally FaceTime my swing coach in Chicago, Monroe Hart. Like, yo, what the hell am I doing, bruh? Because it was shot. I could not figure.
Couldn't figure it out.
And I'm sitting there, and the cats I'm playing with, like, is this some bitch an amateur? And I'm like, I know I can play. And that's the thing. It's just on that particular day, at that moment, it just. And you gotta you could quit, or you gotta like, man, I gotta suck this thing up.
No, you gotta definitely suck it up. I gotta tell you something came to mind the other night. I was thinking about this. It was so funny. So I was golfing with, we had a fourth. I can't remember who our fourth was, but I was golfing with Johnny Gill and Samuel L. Jackson.
Johnny had shades on, didn't he?
Huh?
Johnny had shades on, didn't he?
Of course he did. Of course he did. So the funny thing was, every time Johnny would hit the ball, he'd hit the shot and he'd go, shit, fuck, like he's cussing and fussing and stuff. And Samuel L. Jackson just looking at him. And finally, after about, 4 or 5 holes of that, Sam just goes in the Sam Jackson way, and I can't do it the way he does it. He just goes, Johnny, you know you're not good enough to be that mad about missing those shots. You acting like you some great golfer or something. Like, he just broke it down, and Johnny just had to laugh. He just had to laugh at himself. And the rest of the round, it was great. You know what I'm saying?
Here's mine. This ain't our day job.
Yeah, exactly.
This ain't what we do.
Right. By the way, that's the other reason I don't play anymore. I'm too old to try to do stuff I'm not good at. When I was younger, I felt like, one day I'm gonna. Now I just feel like, I'm no good at that, I'm giving it up. I'm good. I don't need to be good. I'm not going to be good at everything.
Byron Pitts did that. Byron Pitts did that, but he came back. He did the same thing. He was like, man, I'm never going to get better. I was like, Byron, we would always play foursome at the National Association of Black Journalists Convention. He was like, man, I'm never going to be good, never good where I am, so I quit. And then it was like 3 or 4 years later, I was like, oh, you back to playing? He was like, yeah, I'm back to playing. Because again, it's gonna pull you back in.
I can see that happening. And like I say, going out and watching the guys play the other day, it was just like, I just love being on the golf course. It's not a more beautiful place to be, particularly around people that you enjoy being around with your family and that. And it's great. And to watch, and once again, to be around my kids and to watch, my daughter and son, well, they all grew up playing golf, which was so cool. So even my daughter got out there and started playing, and it all came back to her. She hadn't played in a long time. Beautiful swing, whole thing. We were like, okay. So it's nothing better than that,
See,
man. It's a great thing.
I love it because the number of brothers and sisters I've connected with through golf. I mean, you mentioned Sam. I meet Sam at Alicia Keys' Black Ball. We're sitting at the same table, Spike, his wife there, and they had this live auction. And literally, Sam like, y'all ain't auction nothing golf? That was like literally both the same way. So we traded numbers, and he was in the Georgia tournament, and Sam said, Ro, when you leaving? I said, well, I ain't leaving till tomorrow night. He's like, hell, let's play golf tomorrow. He said, all right. So he's like, meet me. And so for 4.5, 5 hours, it's me and Sam Jackson in the cart, playing golf, telling stories, talking trash, having a good time. And that's why I tell people all the time, the people that I've been able to connect with around the world through golf, you can't do that hooping.
No, that's right.
That's really, you might be somewhere, you don't know nobody, and all of a sudden come up, and it's like, you play golf?
Right.
Then it's like, how long you here? Oh, I'm 2 or 3 days. Wanna play tomorrow? I mean, that's just, that to me is how amazing it is. the connect.
Yeah, it's great to find things, you know, in life, you're always trying to find commonalities that you have with people. And it can be, that's one of those, golf is one of those things, it can be, you know, black, white, rich, poor, young, old, doesn't matter. It's a connective tissue that on a golf course, you know, you're all equal. You know, ain't no prejudice happening out there, ain't no nothing, you know.
Right.
It's one of those few places, you know, atmospheres where that kind of thing happens.
Your status don't mean nothing.
That's right.
I don't.
That's not to that golf ball.
It doesn't matter. Spud Webb's a good friend of mine. So Ron Kirkland, who's mayor of Dallas, he comes out.
Yep.
So we go to the first tee. Ron saying something. I said, hey, fuck you.
Right.
And Spud's like, Roland, man, that's the mayor. I said, that motherfucker ain't the mayor out
That's
here.
Right. That's
I
right.
said, he Ron out here. Man, he busts out laughing the first thing. I said, ain't nobody got titles on the golf course.
That's
everybody is cussable.
That's right. You damn right. You damn right. Well, you know, it was funny. I can't remember who it was. I think it was JT, because he was playing with Tiger and Rory. And he comes walking by, you know, between the holes. And he just walks by and he just goes, fuck. And somebody turned around to me and said, did he just say fuck? I said, yeah, because sometimes there's no better word.
Hey.
That is the word that just expresses what it is.
It's called golf because the other 4-letter words were taken.
That's right. That's absolutely right. By the way, I was thinking another thing occurred to me with Tiger. I was at dinner with Tiger probably 20 years ago at least. This was way back in the day when he used to do the tournament at Sherwood Country Club. Mm-hmm. And we were members at Sherwood at that point in time. And so they had, you know, of course, the big corporate dinner, and they were doing all the stuff. We were sitting at the table, and Tiger sneezes. And I said, oh, man, you got a cold? And he looks around and he goes, no, I'm just allergic to all the bullshit. I said, that's the line of the day, man.
It's like, I can use that one.
Yeah.
I can use that one.
Oh, man, that was perfect.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. This is an opportunity for us to be able to speak to our issues. Y'all better understand something real quick. We ain't going nowhere. It is a continual battle that we see all across this country. Revolution will not be televised. The revolution will be streamed.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
He makes sure that our stories are told.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared. Well, the thing I love about the celebrity ones, because of course, every time we at Jordan's, we get to that, remember the tee box where it all connects, all the holes connect?
Yes.
And then the DJ, and we all got to do the bird.
That's right.
And all
we were hitting it.
Gotta hit it. You know, that's the other thing I was like, I said, listen, people of color, we do golf a little different.
That's right. If
there would be music involved.
Well, there's music involved in everything. That's the thing. In our lives,
right?
Black lives.
Hey, Doc, I can't do quiet golf. I'm we gonna have all that other nonsense. No, the speaker's gonna be there.
Yeah.
And you already know how I feel about music.
Right. Oh yeah. And George's card blasting tunes. Like he's all the time, you know. So yeah, man, it's a great thing. And like you say, I've connected with so many people through golf, and that's probably the thing. Honestly, I probably miss that more than I don't miss my bad shots. But I do miss that camaraderie. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you know, I've come out to George's a couple times. I didn't even play. I just would show up, say hello to everybody, and hang out.
Just chill.
Yeah,
that's it.
I'll probably do that.
Now, we talk about a commonality. That to me also, I think, is the power of music.
Absolutely.
Because again, I'm thinking about at his tournament, and no matter what kind of music you put on, whether you put on some soca, you put on some second line from New Orleans, you put on some Motown or whatever.
Yep.
You know, you'll play. It was one of the guys. He was a rock guy. Oh, I forgot. I got his picture in my face. And I was playing Frankie Beverly Mays live in Los Angeles. And he was like, "Yo, man, who is that?" He said, "That's killer." He's like, and so he literally he's like, "No, I got to write that down."
Yeah.
And that to me is what is just so amazing about music. I don't care what your background is.
Right.
You hear something, and it'll stop you in your tracks, and you're like, "Who's that?
Yes.
What's that?"
Yep. Yeah, I call it Well, I call music the divine art because of two things. One is when you think about all the memories that you have. If I say a date to you, if I say, June 20th of, 2000, what were you doing? Now, you could piece it together. If I play you a song from that, everything comes back to you. The smells, the temperature, if you're riding in a car, a girlfriend you're with, whatever those things are, everything comes back, which means it's all here in your brain.
Yep.
But music is the key that unlocks it.
No matter what it is.
No matter what it is.
If I put on Kirk Whalen's And You Know That, which was his second CD, if I put on Glow, or I put that on, I can think back to taking somebody to their prom. I can think back to when I was at Texas A&M.
Yeah.
And it is, and that's the thing. You think back. I think when I hear the Spinners, when I hear, as soon as I hear that song, I think about this white radio that we had in a house growing up, getting ready for school, and it was KCOH in Houston. Anytime I hear the Spinners.
Yeah. No, that's what's so amazing about it, and that's why I feel so privileged to be able to do that, for a living, is make music because of those opportunities to do that. And it's been interesting over the past couple of years, obviously, living through COVID. It would always strike me that, we'd be on Zooms all the time.
Yep.
And you'd look at a Zoom screen and you'd see 20 people on there. They'd be young, old, once again, black, white, you name it. And you know that the people on the screen, when you're looking at the screen, you're seeing everybody's difference.
Yep.
Right? When you see the screen. They got a good camera, they got a bad camera, their sound ain't right there. They're using what do you call a virtual background. You're looking at everybody's different, right? And then you may not even understand if you're on an international one, what people are saying and all kinds of stuff. But if you put a beat on,
boom,
like this, and you see everybody doing this at the same time. So I always said the Zoom screen to me was a quilt, many different colors, many different shades, all that. Music was the thread.
Oh, yeah.
That put that together.
My high school class, I graduated from Yates in 1987 in Houston. And we had a Zoom. And one of the and it was so funny because COVID showed who understood technology and who didn't.
Yeah.
And so they were trying to sit here, and I was driving home, and whoever one guy was a DJ, but what he did was he had the speaker set up, and the sound wasn't clear.
Yeah.
And so I'm in the car, and on the Zoom's on. And I'm sitting and so they like, man, come on, man, fix the dog. You gotta fix the music. What's going on?
Right.
And they were just killing them. And he's sitting there, he's trying to turn it up. I'm sitting there going, no, you can't turn it up, dog. You need to run a line. And he didn't have. So I get home, and they knew I would play. I would do my Club Brown Liquor where I just play old school, juke joint music.
Yeah.
So I get home, I plug the adapter, whatever. So I playing. It was like, damn, somebody who got the music right. And it we went on for like 2 hours just playing music when we were in school together.
Yep.
And it was just a straight up party, us all just sitting here connecting and folks are shouting out, oh, remember this song and this song and this song and this song.
Yep.
And yeah, I don't care who. See, I always say, this is why whenever I would have an artist come on my show, my radio show, I would say, I would ask them, what music would be played at the family reunion 30 years from now? And I kept telling them, I said, I guarantee you, and they kept saying, oh, Roland, you hating on music today. I said, no. I said, it's language and music. I said, because whatever you can play that the grandparents, the parents, the children, the nieces, the nephews, everybody, and you don't have to run over there and pause it. I said, that's the difference.
Right.
I said, and so I would challenge folks to say, no, really think about what music today can be played at the family get-together 20, 30 years from now.
Right.
I said, it's a lot of stuff you can't play.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true. Yeah, well, it's funny too, because I remember growing up that my whole thing was, I knew the importance of music because whenever there was, I grew up in Minneapolis, so we're talking I don't know, 3% black, probably. And so everybody would always be throwing parties, right?
Right.
So it would be like, so if it was somebody white throwing a party, it was like how many kegs they had. We got 4 keggers. We got 20 kegs. It's like, who's doing the music? Like, right? So then whenever we would be throwing a party, it would be like, who's the DJ? Like, who's bringing the music? Like, who's got the sound system? Like, who's whatever.
Boom.
Like, and so that was the foundation of the party. And the other stuff, yeah, we'd have drinks and all that. But the foundation was the music.
Hey, I don't care. I don't care what that is.
Yeah.
You're right. We want to know who's spinning.
Yes.
Who's playing.
Yeah.
Going back, National Station, NABJ.
Yep.
The black managers started throwing parties. Mm-hmm. And you could only get an invite if you were an exec.
Yeah.
Like if you were a manager or one of them invited you.
Yeah.
Everybody was trying to get to their party. And they were like, yo, I don't understand. I was a student. Mm-hmm. Now, I was on the national board, but I'm a student. They were like, okay, how in the hell Roland in the party? They were like, because he bring the damn CDs.
Right.
So back then,
that's right. You
know, we can't. I used to roll with 3 cases of CDs.
Yep.
Cases were like that thick each.
Yeah, that's right.
So whenever they have a deal, I'd be like, they got the speaker, they go up. I was like, I got the music.
Right.
So I was always in the party. They were like, how you get in? I was like, I brought the music.
That's right. That's right. I brought the party.
So
I brought the party to the
all
party.
These execs, and they got this student over here. I was like, because ain't no party without music.
That's right.
You can have the alcohol, you can have the food.
Yep.
Music gonna change the game.
Changes it, totally. I was the same way. I used to DJ when I was younger, and that was my whole thing, man. I'd bring all the music with me. And even on the road, man, I remember like in the Time days, when we'd be on the road with the Time, I used to make what we called chili sauce tapes. And it was all ballads. So all the fellas would have their little music to get their girls, right? So I used to make these chili sauce tapes, and they'd all come to me, Jam, make me a chili sauce tape, man. I got this girl, man. Okay, cool, man. You know, but it was always about exactly. It was always about the music, man. Always about the music. So you know.
See, because you mentioned parties. What immediately I thought about was family get-togethers.
Yeah.
So my grandparents lived 8 blocks from us, and I would tell people. I just grew up, we would have get-togethers. And so we would be sitting here, man, and so what would happen is we'll be at the house, this is a Tuesday night, it's school night. And all of a sudden, a relative might drop by, just, you know, one of my mom's brothers or sisters. And then invariably, somebody might call.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, who over there? Aunt Lurdy dropped by, Aunt Melvin dropped by. Then all of a sudden, all right, cool.
Yeah.
15 minutes, all of a sudden they show up.
Yep.
Then I would go by. Man, you look up, it's 30, 40 people at the crib on a Tuesday night.
Yeah.
So food being cooked.
Yep.
My daddy behind his bar. We had them big speakers that were the size of 8-year-old kids.
Yep, that's right.
You get the music going. Man, it'd be like 11:30 midnight. It's a school night.
Yeah.
So for me, growing up in a big family, having those get-togethers was huge. Having those get-togethers was huge.
Yeah.
Because that was just how we did it. So that's why even when I come to LA, I used to do these dinner parties. I need to go back to doing it. Where I'd be like, yo, I'm in town.
Yep.
We getting together.
Yep.
Be like, oh, what's the dress code? I'm like, ain't no dress code.
Right.
Just
come.
I said, we don't do all that.
Right. Yeah.
And it's only text message.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yo, we getting together.
Yep.
And that to me is the thing for us. But music is always going to be the central piece of that, because that's the connector. Because all of a sudden, folks start dancing.
Yep.
Line dance break out.
Yep.
Next thing you know,
I just was going to say that. Line dance. Talk about the language of music. Certain songs come on, people know exactly what to do. They just start lining up. And it's so beautiful, man. It's so beautiful. I loved, well, I don't know these. I guess he still does them, but I used to go to, Magic Johnson used to throw the best parties. Mm-hmm. And the soundtrack, you already knew what the soundtrack was. It was Maze, Tina Marie.
He loved the OJs.
And the OJs. Like, you knew exactly what the songs were going to be. And sometimes we'd sit there and we'd be like, man, Magic always playing them same old songs. And we'd be partying our asses off, man. Like, okay. Because you just know certain songs, man.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture. We're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind $100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com. DJs today drive me crazy. Because one, and I gotta ask you how you feel about this here. Because one, you got these cats now, they play 20 seconds.
Yeah.
On to the next song. But the reality is, for one, I'm dancing. Okay, I ain't standing around drinking, talking, look at the DJ.
Right.
I don't give a damn who the DJ is. I don't want to know their name.
Right.
I ain't looking at them.
Right.
We're dancing. And it drives me crazy because look, when you dance, every song, it builds up, and then you get into it, and then you really into it. You can't hit that in 20 seconds.
Right.
It's got to build, and it drives me crazy when these DJs don't. That's why D Nice always says, "Let it breathe."
Yep.
Let the song play. And it builds up, and the folks are getting into it, and then they getting into it, and then when you see they getting into it, then you transition to their next song, and you just sort of get them going and going and going. It drives me crazy, man, sitting there, and then they'll switch something. You're like, were you not paying attention to the groove that the room was just in?
Right.
And then you just shut. It's like oxygen. You just turned the oxygen, took the mask off.
Yeah. Well, okay, so I think part of it has to do with the way music in a lot of ways is made now as opposed to when it was made before.
Okay.
So in music that's basically loop driven, where basically you've heard the whole song in the first 20 seconds of the song.
Gotcha.
You've heard everything you need to hear. So a DJ with that mentality, basically he puts on that 20 seconds or 30 seconds and he's off into the next song. And if you think about the way people, because of TikTok, the way kids are listening to music nowadays, they're not listening to 3 minutes of a song or 4 minutes of a song. They're listening to 30 seconds of a song. They're getting everything out of it in that 30 seconds, and they're moving to the next thing. So I think that's somewhat of what it has to do with. The problem is that the older songs, the classic songs, there's those parts that only happen one time in the song.
That's right.
It's not a loop. So when you cut it off early, you're taking those moments away.
And you like, damn, bro.
Right, yeah.
What you doing?
Right, yeah. That's what it is. And that's why, you're right. D Nice, he'll say, let it breathe. Like sometimes you just got to let it breathe.
Like I think about SOS Band, Take Your Time, Do It Right.
Right.
You don't get to it until almost 5 in.
Right.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah, it's got all the
right.
changes. It's got
Come on, baby.
the guitar break, the it's got that, and then it's got the
and you waiting on it.
Yeah, you got all those parts.
Here it come.
That's
then
right.
they switch.
But that's because that's a band playing for 7 minutes of a song rather than a 10-second loop over and over and over where you've already heard everything. So there's those parts that only happen, one little trumpet part or a little part that only happens. That's the way. So music evolved. Music told a story. Right. And so that's what you're feeling. And so when everything gets cut up with the DJs, that's what you're missing. So
and that totally and you're right, because I was having this conversation with the DJ who said, "Yo, you got these folks. They sitting here, they focus on IG stories real quick, as opposed to those of us who are Gen X older. Yo, we grew up dancing.
Yeah.
We grew up sweating, getting it in.
Right.
But here's what I find to be interesting. What I find to be interesting is when you take a DJ who understands that and you got a mix of some older folk, they could flip the whole party. And those same young folks, because reality is, I don't care who you are, you listen to whatever your parents listen to.
Absolutely.
So for me, people like, dang, bro, how old are you? Because, I mean, I'm listening to B.B. King, Bobby Blue Bland.
Yep.
I'm listening to Philadelphia Sound, Motown Sound, Otis Clay live in Tokyo.
Yep.
Crazy.
Right.
And so I'm listening to that. Plus, I'll listen to new stuff as well.
Yes.
But it's just something about, I call it, when I interviewed Jeffrey here, I call it, that's that aw shit music.
Yes.
I said, when a song come on, your first reaction, oh shit.
Yep.
I said, if a song don't make me do that,
right,
it ain't hitting
I
me.
agree. Totally
but it's
agree.
why
Totally agree.
we'll call it soul music. It hits you.
That's right.
And you makes you contort your face and your hands go up.
Yep.
It just completely just changed your whole language.
Yep. And you know, it's funny because there's certain signatures of songs, like the song that always reminds me of that is, well, there's a lot of them, but the song that always reminds me of that is, oh my God, I'm slipping my mind, Marvin Gaye. Well, you'll know it if I go, boom, boom, boom.
Oh yeah, oh.
Right?
Sexual healing.
No, that's not sexual healing.
Hold up. Let's get it on.
Thank you. Let's get it on. You hear that guitar line. Boom, boom, boom.
Right there.
I'm a time, baby. It's like,
as soon as he hits it.
Oh my God. That's one of those shit songs. I think there's a lot of them like that, but that's one of them to me.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And it's that whole, and it's just that guitar lick. And I can't remember, I think I spoke to Berry Gordy. I don't remember whether I asked him about that, but I always wanted to know, like, those Motown intros were always so, right? You could hear two little things and
you knew exactly what.
Yes. That was the most amazing
stuff.
Yeah,
that was the brilliance. I saw a doc. I forgot, I think it was the one that was on Showtime. And the guy, whoever was with the record label now, he pulled the masters out. And he was listening to it separated.
Yes.
And he was like, boy, that hand clap right there. And it was just fascinating, just, again, for me, who played in the band, because I listen to music differently, and I'm always like, yo, listen to this piece. Like one of Luther's songs, it's the Finger Snap. And I was on Instagram Live one night, and I was like, yo, let me break this song down. I said, y'all wanna know why this song pops? I said, it's the Finger Snap.
Yeah.
Lisa Fisher was, because she loved it, so she was on.
Yeah.
And so here I am on Instagram Live breaking down the musical pieces in this Luther song.
Right.
Lisa's on IG Live.
Right.
Confirming what I'm talking about, saying, okay, this how that happened.
Yes.
And she's like, absolutely.
Yeah.
That was added. And it was just a at the right time that set the song off.
Yes. Exactly.
And then when you listen to it, you waiting for it. It's just that to me is that's why it just. And I hate to sound like some people who like, oh man, you know, older cats always hating on young. I'm like, no, I listen to a lot of music now, but for me, I want that distinct sound. When a song comes, I want that song to be so different than everything else, and it doesn't flow together. Probably what I hate about a lot of hip hop, you can play for 45 minutes, and I swear you never change the song.
Yeah.
That's.
Oh, that's very true.
And it's just, it's like, how does that song change?
Right, because there's not change. Well, if you think about it, even in the traditional thought of songwriting, where you had verses and choruses and you had bridges, you know, there's not necessarily that. Once again, it's a 10-second loop or a 20-second loop of the same thing over and over. So when all of a sudden there's a bridge in a song and there's a modulation of a song where it goes up at the end, or those kinds of things, to me, a lot of those elements are missing. The other thing that I think you miss is, And my analogy is always, you mentioned the All-Star game. There's a slam dunk contest, which is great. Okay, it's fun. It's basically one guy doing a dunk. If they get a couple other people, somebody bouncing them the ball, somebody throwing the ball, they're taking the ball off of something, it makes it a little bit better because there's more than one person involved. When you watch a team rebound one pass alley-oop in a game, that's the best.
I think about being, of course, being in LA. I think about Showtime.
Yeah.
You think about that fast break.
Yeah.
And Magic leading it.
Yep.
Scott or Cooper on the wing.
Yeah.
Worthy trailing.
Yep.
And it's just poetry.
It's poetry. That's what music is. So when you talk about, whether it's Maze or you talk about, the Philadelphia International or the Motown, you have a group of musicians who all individually on their own are already the best of the best, all playing together as a team. It's like an all-star team.
Right.
So it's all the ball movement, it's all the stuff. That's what you get. The bass player is doing his thing. The guitar player is playing off the bass player. The drummer's playing off of them, the keyboard player. Then you got people like, Jack Ashford doing the tambourine and doing the vibes.
Or the person on the triangle.
Yes.
And then when you listen to it, you're like,
yep. All of those little things. And so there's a beauty to that. There's a beauty to all those individual greatness coming together. And that's what you hear in those songs that's so special about those songs. I was talking the other day about, there's a James Brown documentary being done right now, another one. And to me, there can never be enough of those. But I was talking about whoever, I don't know the gentleman's name, I'm assuming it's a gentleman, could be a woman, that played the tambourine on the song Think by Lynn Collins. And if you think about that song, there's a part where it just breaks for a second, and this tambourine just goes. That tambourine is in every hip hop record ever made, because that's how special it is. But you realize as those records were made, there's somebody in there just playing the tambourine, just doing their thing. Right. So I think that's the thing that we miss in music. I don't think it's I understand what you're saying, like where people go, you just think the old music is whatever. My son's a great example. So I have a son, Max, who goes to CalArts. And CalArts is a really interesting school. He's going for composition and stuff, but it's an interesting school because it was set up by Walt Disney. And the whole idea was that you would learn all the different disciplines for that Walt Disney system. There you go. So you learned composing, scoring, you learned theme park ride engineering, you singing, dancing, choreography, like anything that happened in that system you learn. And that's the way the school is set up, which I think is an amazing thing. But Max, when he listens to music in the car with me, I realize that he listens to the new stuff, but then if there's a sample involved, he goes back to the original and he finds it. So like the other day, he was like Eddie Hazel. He was listening to Eddie Hazel. He was listening to Shuggie Otis. He was listening to Bobby Womack. He was going back, and I'm not telling him like, oh, this is great stuff. He's going back and finding it because he will hear the sample in a song and then go back and find those samples and then realize that the whole song is what the beauty of it is.
State of the Union 2024, huge night for President Joe Biden.
This was a CBS receipts type of night.
He dragged the hell out of the Supreme Court. He said, y'all gonna see the power of women.
Trump's brain is melting as we speak.
We want to organize from a place of strength.
There's no confusion whatsoever about what they've done and what they plan to do.
What Donald Trump is doing is presenting a fallacy.
He is convincing them that he's all in it for them, when in fact he's all in it for himself.
We do not feel Joe Biden, in spite of the success that have taken place during this administration economically. There are too many things where we do not feel like he's had our back.
You should also be investing in the barbershops and the beauty salons and the hookah bars and the folks who are going to the club, and there's a way to actually get them registered because we've done it before. But if you don't have folks who understand that dynamic, then you're missing a big opportunity.
So we said we just celebrated. For what? Why don't you go to Selma to celebrate rather than recommit yourself to the fight if the very thing we went to celebrate has been gutted?
Republicans did not support
a lot of the bills that were necessary to keep the country fluid. You can't only love your country when you win, right?
Oh, no. You guys don't want another $2 trillion tax cut?
This was absolutely the knockdown, drag out that we were really waiting to see.
Black voters are the base. They're the most important base of the Democratic Party. There was very few language in this speech. At the time, we see an attack on black history, attack on DEI. The end of the BLM racial reckoning thing has come to a complete end because there was nothing in this speech for that.
Our movement has never been grounded in two-party politics in this country. All of our movements ultimately get co-opted by a state that is anti-black.
They called the old because they knew the way, and they called the young because they were strong. And I believe there is a good combination of that, but we can have ideas and we can have visions and dreams, but we have to have our young people also working beside us because they are strong, and they will run that race, and they will run it to the end.
Activists, organizers, and young people have been pushing this administration to be on the right side of history and to do something about the issues that they care about.
While the Ukraine and Palestine are critical issues, they are not the only global issues.
Not a single black person who should ever let it come out their mouth that I'm tired. Because there is somebody else who came before us who didn't stop fighting. That was a clip on Instagram, and this person was interviewing Quincy Jones, and they were talking about one of Michael Jackson's hits, and the guy was like, "Oh, the brilliance of Michael and all this sort of stuff," and Quincy was like, "That shit wasn't Michael."
Right.
And the guy was like, "What do you mean?" He said, "Oh, Michael wanted this taken out." I told him, "Hell no."
Oh yeah, I know what it was. It was the strings on the beginning of "Don't Stop Till You Get Enough," right?
Right. And the guy was like, he said,
"Yeah,
that's what makes the whole."
Yes.
And he said, basically what Quincy was trying to say, Quincy, is what you just said. Yes, Michael, you're a genius.
Yep.
But what Quincy was saying is, I'm a damn genius too.
Yeah. And the teamwork.
Because I saw a doc. I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
I guess it was a Janet Jackson doc. It was an old video. Y'all were going at it.
Right, yeah.
And y'all were like, I'm trying to tell you, we know what we're talking about.
Right.
And that's the piece when you have geniuses in the room.
Yep.
You gotta be willing to say, I gotta respect your genius.
Yeah. Well, here's the funny thing about that, and I know it was funny because Janet actually called me. And she said, "Do you remember us having an argument in the studio, whatever?" And I said, "No, not really, because we never argued in the studio." And she said, "Well, there's this piece we found, and can you come over and watch it with me?" And I said, "Sure." And I went over and watched it, and I loved it. I just started laughing. I said, "This is great. This is great, Janet." And she said, "Okay, so you're okay with this?" I said, "Yeah, I'm fine with it," because literally, we worked together for, I don't know how many days we've been in the studio together, and literally we had maybe one argument like that.
Right.
And it was captured. But of course, that's the thing that,
absolutely,
people want to see. Anyway, but that was great. But yeah, that kind of thing happens. But it's not because you're, necessarily arguing with each other. It's like you have to figure out, as a producer, our job is to get the best out of the artist. Some days that's with kid gloves. Some days that's with, your voice isn't good today. Let's just go see a movie, or let's go just chill, or some days it's tough love, like you got to do that again, or But it's figuring that out. It's more psychiatry and psychology than people think of production as the technical stuff, what microphone to use and all. Yes, that is part of it, but it's more the psychology and the psychiatry of it is getting that performance out that you need to see.
The way I look at it is, whether it's music for me, whether it's media, is whatever. The thing for me is, this ain't ego. It's what is going to be so powerful, so amazing for the audience. Because I might sit here, and if we're sitting here setting up shots, and my deal is I want to see that shot, and I'm looking at what's in the background. I'm spotting this, I'm spotting that. Because for me, I'm thinking about when the person who's watching it.
Right.
We had I think y'all got an honor at the Trumpet Awards, or y'all were presenters.
I think we presented at the Trumpet Awards.
And I interviewed y'all. We were talking about how you and Terry talking about how when y'all listen to music. And I remember reading something. Prince did the same thing. Y'all listen to music and you're rearranging it.
Yeah.
Because you just hear it differently.
Yeah.
And see, for me, if I'm watching somebody give a speech, or it's a panel, or it's a conversation, I'm doing the exact same thing.
Yes.
I'm sitting here looking at, man, why they chose that camera shot, or what that line of questioning.
Yes.
So I'm doing the exact same thing.
Yes.
I am rearranging it
Yes.
in my brain how I would do it, how I see it.
Absolutely.
Because I'm sitting here, that could have been better.
Yeah.
Why did you lead the topic that early?
Yeah.
And so when we talk about that, I know what that feels like, and it's maddening.
Yes.
If somebody's with you, because they like, will you shut up? I'm listening. It's like, yeah, I'm listening too, but I'm listening a totally different way.
That's right. No, you're absolutely right. And it's interesting because when I'm in my car, a lot of times, I'll listen to music, particularly if I'm with my family. I let them listen to whatever they want to listen to. And when I'm in the car by myself, I'm generally listening to sports radio. I'm listening to, you name it, Howard Stern. I'm listening to something. But I'm listening to the conversation because that's what I enjoy. Listening to music is not like a relaxing thing for me. Like, people in their houses have music going. I can't listen to music in my house because I'm thinking, man, how'd they get that drum sound? Or how'd they get, I'm thinking about all that kind of stuff. I can put on, the thing I can listen to is I can listen to classical music. Because then all I'm hearing is melodies. And I'm fine with hearing melodies. But as soon as it starts getting into the production stuff, I'm like, man, how'd they get that sound? Or wait, who played on that? And it's not relaxing to me at all. Conversation is more relaxing.
So I can watch some stuff and just watch it. But there are times when, if I'm seeing something, and I was like, I wonder how they got that shot.
Yeah.
I really like that shot.
Yes.
And I'll come
and
back.
You start analyzing, what camera they used on that? Or what lens was that? And
it was when it was The Godfather, and I'm watching it, and I was like, Reggie, what camera were y'all using? I want to know. I said, what?
Yes.
He was like, oh, YouTube Red. I was like, no, what? And that's the thing.
Yes.
Look, I was at a party last night, and this guy was shooting. I just saw his lens, and I was like, damn, it's dark in here. That's a red shot. I was like, yo, you shooting Canon or Sony?
Yeah.
And I was like, what's the lens on that?
Yes.
And it's just so.
Yes.
So if somebody's with folk like us, there's some stuff they got to accept.
Yes.
That comes with it because we're just looking at it totally different.
You're right, and it's a different language that we're speaking. It's not that it's a better language or anything else, but it's just a different language. And it was interesting. So talking about nuance in songs. So we did a song with SOS Band back in the day called "No One's Gonna Love You." It's my favorite SOS Band song we did. And on that song, it's a very simple song to me. It's literally one keyboard part that's a synthesizer part. But I had two people notice something on that song that sometimes when I'll do a keyboard part on a song, I'll do something very subtle that I just know nobody's ever going to notice. But when I hear it, it makes me happy.
Like a little signature?
Like a little something, right? So on this song, it's tough to explain, but on the song, as the chords move, there's one note that just holds. As the chords move, there's one note that just is constant. It just goes throughout the song, right? I had two people in the last couple of years, because things slowed down a lot and people got to listen to stuff. I talked to two people that said the exact same thing. One was Sean Stockman from Boyz II Men, and the other one was Maxwell. They both said the same thing. They said, can I ask you a question? Yeah. On that "No One's Gonna Love You" song, there's this one part that just goes, doo, and I'm like, oh, you noticed that? I said, you're the people I'm making that song for. That's the reason I'm doing that. I'm thinking nobody's going to notice this, but hopefully somebody's going to notice it. And they notice that little part. And then I went to this synthesizer convention called Synthplex about 3 or 4 months ago. And I got to meet Tom Oberheim, who invented the Oberheim synthesizers, which I play. And I met Roger Lynn, who invented the Lindrum. And when you talk about the Minneapolis sound, those two elements are the Minneapolis sound. Those are the two ingredients. So a chance to tell them, thank you, congratulations, and all that. But afterwards, I went to this place called Rosen Sound, and they had all the old synthesizers. And the guy, Mike Dean, was there. Mike Dean works, with Kanye and with, Travis Scott and all these different people. He's a synth guy. And I'm showing him this, No One's Gonna Love You. And everybody's filming it. Like, they're like, oh my God. Like, they're like not even realizing that it's just one keyboard with one sound, but a certain little thing. So it was like Nerd Fest for synth. But it was so cool. I mean, that kind of stuff. So I love when those kinds of moments happen and being able to have those conversations with people that actually see the subtlety in what we do. Because everybody else will like it. They just can't articulate why they like it.
Right.
And that's the difference.
See, I think what I also love is when you get to sit with people who are from different disciplines and you're having a greatness conversation. So Jeffrey Osborne, we had his golf tournament.
Yep.
Massive storm comes through. Gets rained out. Massive storm. So we're sitting at the table. So I'm sitting here. Ahmad Rashad is sitting here. Eddie Levert is sitting here. Barry Bonds is sitting here. Sugar Ray Leonard is sitting here. My God, I wish he was recording.
Yeah.
And so what happens is, how it started was, I told Eddie, I said, boy, you were pissed off at Oprah's Legends Ball. I said, when she told y'all to change y'all music up, she didn't want to hear no slow stuff. And he was like, oh yeah, bro, that pissed me off. He was hot. Because I was there. And I to my wife, Eddie pissed off. Because he went, okay, Oprah. And the reason I knew he was pissed, when they got done, Eddie walked the hell off the damn stage. It was Walter and Eric who were there doing the bows. Eddie was hot.
Wow.
And so so that's what led the conversation.
Yeah.
And then Eddie was like, oh man, he said, I love watching you on TV. He said, you the smartest guy. So we started having this conversation about just greatness.
Yeah.
And so Ahmad started talking about, how to be a great wide receiver. And then Eddie with music. And then Barry Bonds says, he said, look, I can teach a dude 2 of the 10 things to be a great hitter. I can't teach him all 10.
That's right.
And then Sugar Ray Leonard is talking. And so then we started just like talking because folks are asking questions. And so Ahmad transitioning from football to television, asking those questions.
Yep.
And then Sugar Ray goes, he said, Roland, you've been a great boxer. I was like, where the hell you get that from?
Right.
He was like, last night, man, I saw you dancing. He said, and I was just watching your footwork. He said, a guy your size, he said, you just gliding and moving, you're spinning and flowing. He said, you would have been a hell of a boxer. I said, no, I would have still had to take a shot.
Yeah, right.
I said, footwork ain't all boxing.
Yeah, right.
But it was just this crazy conversation. And so
but what he's noticing, how about the fact that he's noticing that because of where he lives, where he comes from, that's what he picks up.
He was on stage.
That's great.
He was on stage and he was like, he said, he gonna fall. He's like, he's gonna trip and fall. He told me, he's like, oh, I knew you were gonna fall. He said, and you just kept, but it was just this crazy conversation.
That's great.
How I'm asking Eddie something because I'm sort of seeing it, and then Barry sort of has a question for Ahmad, and then it was just great because we're all just talking about being great in our areas.
Yes.
But appreciating the other greatness, and then also asking questions. Okay, tell me about that. How did you and how did you process that?
Yep. The best, the greatest conversations, and what a great group of guys. I mean, Sugar Ray's like the best. I played a round of golf with Sugar Ray. It was actually Sugar Ray, Donnie Simpson. I'm trying to and my father-in-law, who's 83. I think I mentioned him earlier. We played. And we stood in the parking lot for 2 hours after.
Wow.
Just talking. It was just one of those moments, man. It was so good. But Sugar Ray, man, it's just. My wife always says, "Hey, we want to go out for dinner, and whatever." And I'm always like, "Yeah, okay, whatever." And if she ever says, "Oh, it's going to be Ray and Bernadette," and I'm like, oh, "Okay,
I'm good.
I'm in. Yeah, absolutely." And it's the best, man.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? When you link up with folks, and again, it's you're not just talking, you're listening, with what you're also learning.
Mm-hmm.
Think of one or two people where this happened, where you just were really just fascinated, just wanted to just hit them with just more questions, and to know about their process. That was non-music.
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 Well, one of them would be Tiger Woods, because he says, we were talking. He had the unfortunate experience of playing a round of golf with me in a pro-am, and I was stinking it up, and but anyway, I played the pro-am with him. And I remember we got held up on one of the holes. I can't remember who was ahead of us, but somebody who he said was notoriously slow.
Right.
He hated playing behind him. Might have been Colin Montgomery, maybe, somebody like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, anyway, so we're there, and he's sitting there and he's practicing these shots where he's kind of hitting the ball up the hill and then back down onto the green. And I just said, well, what are you up to? And he said, this pin position, he said, this I thought was brilliant. Everybody was kind of going for the pins, right?
Right.
He was hitting the balls like in different spots. So I was like, how did you feel you played today? And he said, I was hitting them perfect today. I said, yeah, because everybody was trying to, was a lot closer to the pin. And he said, no, I was practicing for the pin positions on the final day.
Mm-hmm.
And I just was like, that's like so amazing to me. Like, everybody else is just out there kind of just doing their thing. He's like, I know the pin positions for the final day, so I'm figuring out the shots I need to make for that.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact, I just thought that was brilliant. And of course, the funny thing was, when on one of the holes, I remember in the setup, like the hole's here, he's here, but he's hitting the ball over here. And I remember I was watching on TV, I was in the clubhouse, so watching on TV, and the announcer said, well, wait, what do you think he's doing here? And they said, well, I don't know. Like, I don't know why he's aiming over there, because whatever. And then one of the guys said, well, maybe he thinks he can run up the hill and run it back down, but that's not going to work or whatever. And of course, he hits the shot, ends up about that far from the hole.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that's the shot he practiced. Like, he knew on the final day he was going to need that shot. And it was so informative to me, just as far as life. The other thing he talked about was, I asked him, how do you know where the ball's going to go when you hit the ball? You know exactly where it's going to go. He said, because when he was young and his dad would take him out, they couldn't get on golf courses.
Mm-hmm.
So they would play at night. They would play like as the sun was going down. And he said, we couldn't afford like golf balls really. So it was like, I had to find my ball when I hit my ball. And he says, that was the thing that trained me to know exactly where my shot was going to go. Because I knew when I hit the ball 200 yards, 250, whatever it was, I knew I had to walk right to that spot and find that ball. And I just thought, to me, it felt like such a, strength through adversity type moment that I think black people just have to go through. We have to figure it out.
Right.
We make lemons out of lemonade. But there's a reason. Terry and I, we couldn't play in the white clubs in Minnesota. So we rented a ballroom, did our own show, promoted it, got like 1,500 people to come out. Clubs were sitting empty. They were like, where's everybody at? And they said, they're down watching the band you wouldn't hire. So it taught us not only that we had the talent of musicians, but we also had to have the talent of entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like a seat at the table. It's like, no, let's build the table.
That's right.
We got to build the table. And,
That's right.
And that was the thing. And of course, after that, we got all kinds of offers.
Of course.
Right, to come play in the clubs. But we didn't do it.
You like, no, we good.
No, we're good. We're good. And that's what put us on a path of national. And of course, when Prince made it, then it was like, okay, we see it can be done. You know. So, but once again, because of the adversity, because if we could have played in those clubs, we would have been probably still in Minneapolis just playing in the clubs, you know, because it was comfortable, you know. So Terry always says you got to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
You told me a story about, because we were talking about iron sharpening iron.
Yeah.
And you were saying how, man, y'all were performing and y'all were putting it on Prince's ass.
Mm-hmm.
And you were like, y'all were just in a groove, and he had to raise his game.
Yes.
To deal with y'all.
Yeah.
Talk about that, because that was so. I always ask artists, was there ever someone you were supposed to go on tour with, but they didn't want that heat? And I always ask, because Eddie told me the story. So Gerald was supposed to do a tour with Babyface.
Yeah.
And he was like, son, listen. Eddie got mad. He's like, Roland, you put it out. I said, you told a damn story.
Right.
He was like, son, that boy's soft. You can't do what you do. He said, I need you to rein it in, make that paper.
Yep.
He said, man, they went to Madison Square Garden, and Gerald was like, he was doing it right. And all of a sudden, the audience reacted a certain way. And
he got going.
Gerald came out, the panties came flying out.
Yep.
Wasn't no tour.
Yeah.
And he was like, son, you messed the money up. He was like, Daddy, look, it was just because. So I thought about that when you told me.
God,
you like,
so
yo,
funny.
y'all were putting it on him. Prince, when y'all put that heat, that time heat on him.
Yeah, man. That was a really interesting thing, because going back to the origins of, Flight Time before the time.
Right.
We were Flight Time, and we were already at that point kind of the best band in Minnesota. And I found out from Morris, I didn't know this, but I found out later on that Morris said Prince didn't really want us in the band. He wanted to use some other guys that weren't quite as good, I think. And Morris insisted that, no, these are my guys. Jimmy and Terry, Monty, Jelly Bean, these are my guys. So, Jesse on the guitar, whatever. It's like, okay, cool. So I remember we used to go out, and he would drill us in rehearsals. He would just, he'd come to our rehearsal, rehearse us for 6 hours. Then he'd go to his band's rehearsal and do them for 6 hours. And then the other 12 hours, I don't know when he ever slept, but he'd go to the studio and he'd crank out music. He'd walk into the rehearsal the next day with a cassette, and he'd pop it in, and it would be like 1999 or something. It'd be like a whole song, and we'd be like, when'd you do that? And he'd be like, I did that last night. It's like, damn, man, Prince. So he was crazy. The biggest thing that I got from Prince, though, was work ethic. Because when we were rehearsing, I'll never forget this, when we were rehearsing 777-93-11, and we were rehearsing it, and Prince was at the rehearsal, and we run through the song, we're thinking song sounds great, we got it. And Prince goes, Jimmy Jam, what are you doing with your left hand? Because I was only playing with one hand, because I only had one little part to do.
Right.
And I said, I'm not doing anything, Prince. I said, it's just one little part. He said, double the part that Monty's doing on the keyboard. I said, well, it's not like that on the record, Prince. He said, it's got to be better than the record. Okay, better than the record. Okay, cool. So now we're playing a song, and I'm playing the bass part with my left hand. I'm playing the chords with my right hand. We're good. Song ends. Prince goes, Jimmy Jam, what note are you singing on the chorus? I said, I'm not singing a note on the chorus, Prince. It's like a 3-part harmony. Terry and Morris and Monty got it, or whatever. Find a note. Okay, cool, Prince. It's got to be better than the record. Okay, cool. So now I'm playing 7, 7, 7, 9 to 3, 11, and I'm playing. Boom, 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 killing it. Song ends. Prince goes, Jimmy Jam, why aren't you doing the choreography? I said, Prince, I'm behind the keyboard, man. What do you want me to do? He said, it's easy choreography. You should be able to do it. Okay, cool. So now I'm hitting it, and I'm 7, 7, and I can't get it. I can't get my feet to work, my hands to work. I can't get the. No, I'm totally frustrated. I'm like, this is pissing me off. So
you're like, why you keep singling me out?
Right. Why me? So the next day, finally rehearsal ends. Thank goodness. Next day we come back to rehearsal. Prince walks in and says, 777. And I'm like, shit. Okay. Song starts playing. About a minute into the song, I realize not only am I playing with two hands, singing my note, hitting the choreography, but I'm taking my hanky out of my pocket and I'm patting my face and I'm tipping my hat. And I realized in that moment that Prince is like a great coach. Like he saw me better than I saw myself. He knew I could do it. And that taught me everything I needed to know, that I've always applied that for the rest of my life. Like, sometimes you see people better than they see themselves.
Right.
And that was the way Prince saw me. And I thank him to this day for that, for not letting me be, because I didn't realize I was being lazy. I didn't think I was being lazy. I just was like, I can't do it.
You already said, y'all were the best band in the city.
Yeah.
And his whole deal was, no, I want you to be the best in the world.
Yes, that's right. He saw that. He saw that in us. And it was funny because he said at one point on tour, I remember Morris, because Prince was also a genius marketing guy too. So when we did the first album cover, Morris had the jacket he was wearing, we always called it the Presley jacket, right? So on the second tour, Morris said, Prince, I got to get me a new Presley, man. This thing's about to wear out. Like literally after the show, there was a seamstress like fixing it after every show. Like it was about to fall apart because it was a thrift store. All our clothes were thrift store clothes back in that day. And so finally, Morris just on his own, he just ordered a new one just on his own. He just got one, right? And I remember one night in particular, we just really kicked Prince's ass, like really bad. So Prince came into the dressing room afterwards and he said, so, you know, like that was a good show tonight. And then Morris goes, yeah, and you know what else? Jerome. And Jerome comes out with this wardrobe bag. He unzips it, bam, new fresh Presley. And then Morris goes, and I got a new Presley. Prince goes running out the room. Prince says, I created a monster. And he goes running out of the room. It was like he couldn't control it anymore. Like he just couldn't. He tried to control it. Our stage would get smaller and smaller every night, so we had less room.
Wow.
We started off with like 4 lights. We got down to 2 lights. Like all kinds of stuff, like trying to like sabotage us. And you mentioned like, earlier before social media and all that, the 2 papers that mattered were the New York Times and the LA Times. Prince never allowed us to play, back in the day it was the Forum, was the main place.
Right.
We never played the Forum with Prince, and we never played Madison Square Garden with Prince. Because those reviews, it didn't matter in, Greensboro, North Carolina.
Right.
The Time kicked Prince's ass. That was okay in that paper. Not in the New York Times, not in the LA Times. So Prince never allowed us to play those venues. And even when we met Janet for the first time, it was like, she was a fan. She came to Long Beach Arena to see us because we weren't at the Forum.
That's crazy.
And it used to drive Jelly Bean Johnson, the drummer, drove him crazy. He'd be like, man, we're in town and we can't even play. Like, we're at the show. Because we still backed up Vanity 6. He was still at Vanity 6 playing. We were the band behind Vanity 6. So we'd play the Vanity 6 show and then we'd just leave. But we were all in the building. All our equipment's all set up, ready to go. He wouldn't let us play. So we didn't. Those places we didn't get a chance to play.
The reason that's crazy to me is because every time you hear about people describe Prince, there's just massively talented and all of that.
Oh, yeah.
I just, and this is just, I guess, for me, I think about Kobe and MJ.
Yeah.
I think about, Kareem and Wilt. I think about, if you're the best running back, you want to beat Ray Lewis. You want to beat Mike Singletary. You want to be, that to me, I just believe that if you are the best, think about Ali, I'm taking on anybody.
Everybody. Yep.
That is crazy to me.
Yeah. No, I think, and it might have been a management decision. I don't know whether I put it on Prince totally, because it certainly could have been a management thing where they said, no, in LA and New York, you need to it just needs to be all about you here. I don't even always put that on Prince necessarily, but it was an interesting decision. And, but it was what it was. And, at one point in time, we did get to the point where we were going to tour on our own. And actually, I think we were going to tour with, I think it was going to be Evelyn Champagne King and maybe Shalimar or something like that. I think they were going to put us out on our own tour. And it never happened, which actually, in a way, I'm glad it never happened, because it was, us being with Prince was the right combination to me. And what they called the Triple Threat Tour back in that day, which was Prince, The Time, and Vanity 6. That was a great tour. One of my favorite touring memories was at the end of the tour, like maybe the last 10 or 11 shows. I remember we went back to cities we'd already been to. We went back to Chicago, Detroit, because Little Red Corvette had taken off so big at that point in time. So the audience that Prince was drawing was now, I won't say predominantly white, but it was a huge white audience now, right? So when they would advertise the show, they would only advertise it as Prince and Vanity 6. But what would happen is at the end of the Vanity 6 set, rather than us stopping, the curtain would raise, and there we were. And we went straight in to Get It Up. And the look on the people's faces like, talk about oh shit moments?
Oh shit, well, yeah.
That was the oh shit moment. Like, oh shit, it's the time. Oh my God, we didn't even know they were going to be here. And we would rip through like 45-minute show. And that was the greatest thing ever. So I absolutely loved doing that, man. That was great. By the way, it reminds me too, when we were just a local band, when we were Flight Time, I remember we played a gig in Minneapolis with Cameo. And Cameo at that point in time they were the biggest.
Right.
Cameo was amazing. And we loved them. And I remember we played the show with them. And then when we were, taking down our equipment and all that stuff, the roadie for Cameo, he was kind of sweeping the stage off and stuff. And he just looked at us and he said, y'all ain't never going to be nothing. And we were looking at the dude like, what are you talking about? Like, who are you? Like, what are you talking about? Fast forward, I want to say maybe 3-4 months later, because I think that was like February. Now fast forward to like June. We're at our Get It Up had just come out. The single had just come out. And we got picked to open the show for Cameo at the, I don't know, there was the Masonic Theater. I can't remember what theater it was, but it was like a big theater, right? And so we come out, and at the beginning of our show, because we never would get a sound check, right, because we're the opening act. So we did our sound check in our intro of our show, was basically Jelly Bean would start just playing the drums. And when he was playing the drum beat, the sound guy would dial in the drums. And then we'd do The Stick was our first song, a song called The Stick. And then when we'd hit our keyboards, we'd go boom on the keyboard. So then he'd get our keyboard set, right? So that was like our little trick. But what we would do is Morris, when we hit our first drum beat or our first little keyboard lick, a spotlight would come on Morris, just Morris in the center of the stage. His back was turned to the audience, and he's combing his hair. And when we did that in Detroit, all of a sudden it went boom, the spotlight hit Morris. It was like the Beatles came out. It was like, ah! And we were like, damn, I guess they know us here, right? We kicked ass that night. We saw that same Cameo guy sweeping up afterwards. And we just looked at him, And we just kind of nodded at him. And he nodded back at us. We didn't even need to say anything.
Didn't need to.
No. But I never forget that, man. And I always felt like I never want to make people ever feel like that. I never want to say that to anybody. I never want to make people feel like that.
Right.
I mean, it's crazy, man. Just all the different things that kind of lead you to the place. It's all those.
I've never told anyone that. What I have said is get better.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I mean, that's a different thing. I have pulled cats aside and was kind of like, yo, let me break down what you just did. You need to work on this.
Yes.
And I would tell them, do you want to be good or you want to be great?
Right.
And matter of fact, I had some students who I was speaking at the University of Oklahoma.
Yep.
And they said, I got a question for you. They said, aren't you concerned sharing, all of your knowledge? I was like, no. They were like, why? I said, oh, you think I'll stop learning?
Right.
I said, you got to catch up to where I am today.
Right.
By the time you catch up to where I am today, baby, I've been gone.
Yes.
And I was just trying to get them to understand that I said, when you're trying, going back to that greatness conversation we had, I said, actually going back to that and actually going back to our golf conversation.
Yeah.
When I said, you're not even playing the course, you're playing you.
Yeah.
The idea is I want to be as great as I think I can be, which is so much higher than what anybody else thinks.
Right.
I'm trying to get that.
Yeah.
So if I tell, and it's always interesting when you're dealing with staff, like my TV One show was always, they're like, Roland, can you tell the staff it was a good job? I was like, no, the job they did, that's what they get paid for. If I actually say that was a great show, how we did it.
Yep.
That's so. When I ran Chicago Defender, I did to the brother with a story he wrote. He walked out of my office and he came back and he went, "Did you just compliment me on my story?" I was like, "Yes." I said, "Because you elevated your game.
Yes.
You didn't just turn in me a story."
Right.
And that's the thing is how the constant pursuit.
Yes.
Of being the absolute best you can be, where you wring every ounce of your talent out.
By the way, I think being the best you can be also involves elevating other people.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm a big believer in, it's funny, I've had
especially when it's a collaboration.
When it's a collaboration. Because I think that I always want people to look good. I mean, some people I know I've dealt with where we've asked them to do something and they will say, well, yeah, that's what you're getting out of it, but what am I getting out of it? Well, if you're not getting anything out of it, then we shouldn't do it.
Right.
Because it should be a win-win situation. I'll never forget, we were in a meeting, so this is a long time ago now, but we were in a meeting and a company was trying to present us with stuff they wanted us to be a part of their thing and, blah, 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 blah. And it was a writing, publishing thing, and they were like, yeah, we can do this, and we're going to do this, and we can do this, and we can do this, we can do this. And then they said, do you have any questions? And we said, yeah. What can we do for you? And they're like, huh? I said, what can we do for you? This is all nice, all that you're going to do for us. What can we do for you? And they said, what do you mean? And I said, well, you have a bunch of young writers that need mentorship. Our studio's 2 blocks from your office here. What about setting up some rooms for your writers to come in and do some things? What about, how can we be of value to you so that we all look good together, we all grow together? And I feel that way, being on your show, I want your show to be elevated because we're together. Because that makes me elevated, makes you elevated, it makes the network elevated, it makes everything, that's the way I always look at things.
Right.
And I realize the more I'm into it, and the older I get, I guess, people don't think like that. And that's always surprising to me. But I've been blessed to have a partner for 50 years. I met Terry 50 years ago this year. And so my whole idea of partnership, I think, is different than what maybe other people think of partnership.
I need you to scream for your new beginning. 5, 4, 3, 2. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. 1. I need you to shout for it. It won't always be like this. Sooner or later, it's gonna work in your brother's favor, in your sister's favor. They shall not die. They shall not die. They shall not die. I want you to embrace somebody and tell them welcome to the greatest season of your life. Hug somebody. Welcome.
There was a brother named Ronaldo Glover. He was an attorney in Chicago, and he was one of the investors in Chicago Defender. And when I took over executive editor, managing editor, and later became general manager, I used to always, it was always, because Ray was very serious. In fact, he looked like Mobutu, who was the leader of Congo. He looked how he looked. He looked like one of the African leaders, and he rarely smiled. And he had the glasses and the stern look. And Ray was brilliant. And it really wasn't until he died. He got pancreatic cancer. We had lunch in like May. He hits me in July, tells me his diagnosis.
Oh, wow.
He was having surgery.
Yeah.
He was gone November.
Oh.
And I hated that I didn't know Ray longer.
Yeah.
But he was on the board trustee at Fisk University. He was a star basketball player, still had records. He took over TOC Beatrice after Reginald Lewis died. And a lawyer, he was a master archer. Boat, I think he also was a pilot. I mean, he was true Renaissance man.
Yes.
But here's what he would always do. Ray would always go, he would say, how can I be of assistance? So your point that you say.
Yeah.
And that is, and like he knew when he was replaced, he was going to be replaced by the city college, as the chair of the board of the City College of Chicago. And he tells, okay, how can I be of assistance? And the guy was like, his whole deal was, that's the piece. How can I be of assistance? There are things that I have. But what's the whole point of me having them if I can't help someone, share someone?
Right.
And that's the thing. And I sort of think the exact same way. I just got, there's a young lady who, I'm in St. Louis, and she had been one of my top journalists, young journalists, and gets divorced and sues the station, and she goes through this 5-year just hell. So I'm in St. Louis, and they asked me to drop by the board meeting, black journalist meeting. I drive by, and I'm speaking. So after I'm like, all right, what you doing? And she said, I'm trying to get back, but I'm also doing some teaching. I was like, well, teaching and freelance reporting? I was like, who are you talking to? Who are you interviewing? She's telling me, so. And I was like, okay, but is it going to be a job offer? Well, like, what's going on? She's like, it's still issues. I was like, okay. Pull the phone out. Like, we're just talking. Like, we're in the hallway. We're just talking. I call a brother. He owns TV stations in Indianapolis. And I was like, hey, man. I said, hey, how's so-and-so working out? Because another woman I got in job. He said, oh, my God, we love her. She's amazing. I said, I got somebody 10 times better. He's like, well, are you serious? I said, yes, I'm standing with her right here. I said, I'm going to send you right now her reel. He's like, bet. I said, send me your reel. Send it to her. He sent it to her. He's like, oh, God, news director loves it. I said, send me your resume. Boom. 3 days later, she's on a Zoom interview. A week later, they bring her in. 3 days later, she gets the offer.
Awesome.
Now, here's the whole deal. I'm not trying to get hired at the station.
Right.
So what's the point of having that name and the phone number?
Yes.
And not blessing somebody who needs the opportunity?
Absolutely.
That to me, so to your point, as why have knowledge that you don't share?
I agree.
Why have relationships that you don't use to actually help some? Prince, he finds out the black journalists are coming to Minneapolis for a convention.
Yep.
It was like one of the few I missed. He's talking to Van Jones. He's like, hey, I'm here to come. I want to do something. Yeah. Van's like, he's like, the guy I know who's like big time in NABJ is Roland. Right. He calls me. I was like, bet. Here's this person. I call it president, executive director. That's how they end up having a party at Paisley Park.
Right. Yep.
what's the point of having it if you don't help somebody?
I totally agree, man. That, to me, that's what it's all about. And, you know, Terry and I always say at this point, you know, I always say the fourth quarter of our, you know, lives or careers or whatever, and Terry doesn't like that, but when I say put it like that. But I just feel like that's the time to, you know, win the game, you know, or whatever the, you know, analogy you want to use. And I feel like our goal now is very simply to leave music in a better place than we found it. And that's,
there you go.
To me, that's the one thing we can do, because to me, if music is in good shape, the world is in good shape. And so that's what we want to do. And whether it be through technology, whether it be through new music we're doing, whether it's through signing young acts, whether it's through bringing back, you know, the legacy acts that maybe haven't been gotten the light shined on them in the way that what that is, that's the goal. And so anything that fits within that goal is kind of what we want to do. And we now are at the point, you know, being 50 years in together, doing this, we know what the hell we're doing. And you can't teach experience.
No.
That's the thing you cannot teach.
Right.
So we have that. So to be able to relate and tell our stories to people and have them take a grain away from it. I remember one of the fun things I got a chance to do, or I still do it though, with the Grammys, is we used to do a thing called Grammy in the schools. We're back to doing it again now. But I remember two things that always kind of I remembered was, there was always this thought when you're sitting on stage and you're sitting in the audience, that little area between the two looks like the Grand Canyon.
Right.
Right? It looks like so far away. Oh, I'm never going to get on that stage. And you realize, you know, it's just 2 or 3 steps, right? So think of that. The other thing is when you have a room of like-minded people, or at least people that are all trying to figure out the same thing, I would always get people to raise their hands, and I'd go, you know, who in the room, who's a singer, who wants to sing? And people raise their hand. I say, who's a songwriter in the room? People raise their hands. Who's a producer in the room? You know, who wants to do, like, music videos? People raise their hand. Who wants to be an attorney? Who wants to be a, you know, an agent? Who wants to write lawyer? Whatever. Well, by the time you go through, everybody's hand is raised. And then I say, look at the people around you. The whole infrastructure of whatever that dream is that you have, it's all right there.
Yep.
Don't wait for us to go to help you. And I say, substitute the word waiting. Like people go, I'm waiting for my break. I'm waiting for somebody to put me on. Substitute the word waiting with the word preparing.
There you go.
Preparing for my break. I'm preparing to. It's very simple. And I know it's simple to us in the position we're in, but we try to make it simple for the people that are doing it, because they're grinding. They're just trying to figure it out. And if we can do that, that's a great thing.
People, so like when TV One canceled News One Now. Well, actually, I can even go back, even at CNN. I tell people all the time, I said, I prepared to leave CNN the day I arrived.
Yes.
I said, they were like, what are you talking about? I said, it's going to end.
Yes.
So you're in a constant state. When they said they're not going to give me a weekly show, I said, got it. Mentally, I said, what they're paying me, they're going to become my personal venture capitalist, and then it's going to fund this.
Yes.
When I go to TV One, I was acquiring my own equipment.
Yes.
So when they pulled the plug, I was sitting on $100,000 worth of equipment.
Right.
So we did a town hall. We did a State of Our Union like 2 months later. All I had to buy, I had to rent a few lights and buy the bar stools.
Right.
Everything else I actually owned.
Right.
And folks are like, but why did you do that? I said, because I saw it.
Right.
Long before.
Yes.
Preparing for that.
Yes.
When Alfred Liggins told me they were ending the show, I didn't flinch.
Right.
Like literally, that it wasn't like it was a punch in the stomach.
Yes.
He was talking, and I was already going, I'm gonna call this person, I'm doing this, okay, we're gonna do this here, I'm gonna launch this, and that's the whole piece.
Yes.
And I said, and so when we dropped the show, I said, folks, y'all understand, to your point, that preparation has started long before.
That's right.
And so when it was time to hit, boom, let's go.
Yep.
There was no pause, there was no angst, there was no, even when they offered me a 3-year contract, the same salary, $330,000, I turned it down. My agent was like, he said, really, easy money? I was like, no, it's not.
Right.
I said, because if I take the deal, I couldn't do anything targeting African Americans for 3 years.
Right.
Because they were in radio, television. I said, no. I said, I have to leave and do what I want, what I see, because that's going to be limiting.
Well, the other thing is, if they're whatever they're offering you, you know you're worth more than that. You know that. So if they're offering you that, and it's like, oh, that's cool. Okay, well, I know I'm at least twice that, or
it's like the brother with the Lion King. His mama said, well, baby, if they offering you $2 million, you must be worth a hell of a lot more.
That's right.
And the residuals that he has made since, because his mama, not a music pro,
right,
but who figured out, baby, if they offering you $2 million, your voice must be worth a hell of a lot more.
Right.
And he's still eating because mama was smart enough to figure that one out.
Common sense. Sometimes common sense isn't very common anymore, but where it exists.
What still excites you, whether it's producing, whether it's playing music? Like, what's still, after all of these years, that, boom, you still feels like the first time, or just love it?
That's a great question. First of all, waking up every day feels like that. I'm really excited to wake up every day. And I normally have a lot of times I wake up, like I know I have things to do. But I wake up every day, and I normally, it's going to sound weird, I actually go on social media when I first wake up. And I usually let that sort of guide. There's a couple of music sites that I kind of follow where, you know, they'll put up old videos, or they'll put up old TV, or they'll do something that just kind of inspires me. I usually wake up with some sort of idea. I love conversation, and I love storytelling. So a day like this, being with you today, is something that I'm excited to do. Like this sets the tone for my whole day, because it's provoking my mind to think about things that maybe I wouldn't think of. But I know as my day goes on, there's going to be things that I'm going, oh, I just was talking to Roland about that. You know, like there's going to be things. So those kinds of things really excite me. And it's just the creative process. I wake up with a million ideas every day. They're not necessarily good ideas, but they're ideas.
Right.
And I always tell people, don't mistake my enthusiasm for my idea with that I really know what the hell I'm talking about. Because a lot of times I don't know what I'm talking about, but it is an idea. And if I say it to the right person that goes, oh, you know, that would work with this or that person. I just love those connections. And I love doing that all the day. And you know, producing, a lot. Somebody said, I don't know, I think it might have been Rick Rubin, but I've heard other people say it. Production is basically problem solving. It's a series of solving problems. And I think life in many ways is that. And I just think communication is so key to solving problems, because something that you can't see. I tell people all the time, people walk up to an analogy I use is like people walk up to a wall and they go, man, there's a wall in front of me. And they're standing there and the wall's here and they're going like this, I can't get through the wall. And it's like somebody from, you know, back, like Terry, my partner always says, barber can't cut the back of his own head. So the barber's standing there and going, yeah, but there's a door right there. There's a window right there. If you just step back, take one step back, and you're good, you know. But people get so it's just, to me, maybe because I'm older, it's just try to be a little more efficient with that, but try to guide people where they need it. I think it's the greatest gift that.
Did you ever meet Jerry Weintraub?
No, never did. I know the name. I know the name, but I never met him.
So I see his documentary. In his book, You Would Know I'm Dead When I Stop Talking. Okay. So I'm reading his book, and I'm just like, yo, this is crazy. So I'm on the train going to New York, something for CNN, and I said, I need to tell this dude this. I said, this book should be in every MBA school. So I called Warner Brothers lot, asked for his production company. Secretary answers his phone, says he's not there. I said, okay, this is who I am. I just wanted to tell him this. Leave my number. She's like, I'll get it to him. I'm like, okay, no sweat. Never hear from him. 20 minutes later, the phone rings. Gravelly voice, Roland, Jerry Weintraub. I'm like, all right. So I tell him, love the book. I said, I think I read it in 3 days. Just unbelievable book. He's like, wow. I said, no. I said, Jerry, I'm serious. this book should be in every MBA school, every management program. I'm going through this whole deal.
Yep.
So then he says, hey, we got to LA? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I come out. He said, I'm going to take you to this restaurant. I said, I got 4 items on the menu. They never let me pay. I want to take you there. I said, great. He gives me his home number, cell number, email.
Yep.
Let him know I'm coming to LA. We get together, exchange book. Great, same thing. 2.5-hour conversation.
Yeah.
Unbelievable lunch.
Yeah.
Stayed in contact. I was occasionally sending him an email till he died. And I tweeted about this. And then the rap said, can you write something up? It was called Lunch with Jerry.
Yeah.
And his family saw it and actually invited him to the memorial service. I couldn't get out. But his son plays in George Lopez's golf tournament.
Okay.
Michael Weintraub.
Yeah.
So I met Michael. But here's why his book is exactly what it was. The book was all of these stories, and the one story that I use all the time. John Denver is a pain in the ass. He is just, to this guy, he's driving Jerry crazy.
Yeah.
And so he calls me, he's like, the tour is off, everything. So Jerry's like, I gotta figure out, calm his ass down. He goes, John, everything is gonna be fine, John. He said, I fired Jimmy this morning. We're okay? You fired Jimmy. John? Yes, here's the whole deal. John goes back, tells crew, talk to Jerry. Things are gonna get back on track.
Yeah.
He's gone, blah, blah, fired Jimmy, blah. Jimmy didn't exist. Jimmy didn't exist.
Right.
He needed him. There was nothing wrong with the tour.
Do something, yes.
He was just manic, and so he created a fictional person to calm John Denver the hell down.
I love it.
And that's exactly what happens.
I love that. I gotta read that book.
Dude, this book.
I gotta read that book.
Jimmy, I'm telling you.
That's great.
I have recommended this book to so many people because the whole thing is just, you gotta figure it out.
Yes.
You gotta solve the problem, and in the moment, I gotta come up with something.
Yep.
To either what you said earlier about the psychology, dealing with artists, whatever.
Yeah.
I gotta get you back on track. And it was all these different stories. Then it was fascinating. I think we talk about problem solving is really having people get out of their own way.
Yes. They don't realize they're in their own way. When we
or getting them unstuck.
Yes. Well, it's interesting with artists because artists are always trying to look forward, and that's the way they should. One of the things Terry and I were always good at doing was, I remember Earth, Wind & Fire a while back. Maurice hadn't been singing with them for quite a while. And I remember we were working with them in the studio, and Terry said, I think we could get Maurice to come down. He doesn't have to sing, but we were producing a bass part with Verdine. And we knew that Verdine and Maurice worked together, really well on the bass parts and all that kind of stuff. And I remember, so Maurice came to the studio, and we couldn't quite get the bass part the way we wanted it. And then Maurice stood in front of Verdine, because Verdine, as you can imagine, he doesn't sit down and play the bass in the studio.
Right.
He stands up and plays. Maurice sits right in front of him and just looks in his eyes. We play the track. As the track is being played, Maurice is looking at him and he's just kind of going, just making little gestures. And then Verdine would go, or he'd do all these little things. And we were just going.
So the nonverbal was leading to.
And you realize that's the way they had been making those records since, when Terry and I met in '73, we were listening to, Keep Your Head to the Sky.
So y'all are watching this and you're like.
It was mind-blowing. But what it made me realize was later on, when they first came to us, they said, hey, we want you to produce something. And we said, okay, we'd love to. You guys were like the soundtrack of me and Terry meeting. We'd love to do something. And they said, yeah, well, we're going to work with, they mentioned a couple of hip-hop artists and some different things. And we said, yeah, but just do you. But they didn't know what do you was, right? And we were like, they said, we want to get something on the radio. And we said, you're on the radio all the time. Reasons, that's the way of the world. Devotion.
I think they told me somewhere around the world, an Earth, Wind & Fire song is being played every 90 seconds.
That's right. Absolutely right. So our thing was, you're already on the radio. And they said, yeah, but that's our old stuff. And we said, right. So for your new stuff, do that. Because that's obviously what people want to hear. And we did a song called Pure Gold. And I remember the album was very successful. They were on the Grammys, the whole deal. But it was just kind of saying to them, no, you're great. Just do what you do. You know, we worked with Babyface a couple years back on our album. And the thing was, Babyface was
you sent me, you said, Roland, I want you to listen to this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I wanted it to give you the feel of the Babyface we fell in love with.
Right.
Right? It doesn't mean that anything he's not doing is invalid, but we want to take you to that moment you fell in love with Babyface. And we did it with Mary J., with Tony Braxton, all the people on our album. That was the thing, was there's that certain point where you fall in love with an artist. If we can take you back to that, that's what we want to try to do.
Well, I remember earlier I talked about when Ed Levert, like, Sonny, he's soft. Here's what happened. Babyface was getting killed in the concert.
Yeah.
That's when he changed his entire show and incorporated the songs that he wrote.
Yes.
Which totally changed. Because here's the deal. I had a bunch of Babyface. I gave this sister I know, she was married to my frat brother. She loved it. I said, take out my CDs. Because everything was ballads.
Yes.
What I loved about it when he changed it, people were like, he wrote that, and it completely altered your view of Babyface by him performing his hits that he wrote and the ones that he's saying completely changed the show.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, because the show's absolutely an amazing show now. But you need to get your ass kicked a couple times to figure out, what that is, And my thing is too, and we were talking about it a little earlier also, when you picked up the phone, got the young lady her break and that, I don't ever want to leave things unsaid to people, right? I've made it a point now where if I see something I like on social media, or I hear something I like, I just will DM the person and I'll just go, hey, this sounds great, or this made my day, or this put a smile on my face, that kind of thing.
Yep.
And people write back and they go,
are you serious?
Wait, Jimmy Jam? Wait, is this really you? It's like, yeah, it's me. I'm just letting you know. I always want to make sure I do that. And when Prince passed, I realized there were so many things that we never got a chance to say to each other. And we were in a good place. I know people think we were, not in a great place. We were in a great place when he passed. We were planning on doing some things together, and we were in a great place. But there were still things I never got a chance to say to him. So I've always made it a point, because people right now, there's so much energy that gets spent on negative stuff.
Yep.
There's always a reaction to somebody. I hate that, and whatever. And even people on social media. I know people that follow people on social media who they don't like. Yeah. So they can talk about it.
Well, remember the old adage of Howard Stern: the people who hated Howard Stern listen to him twice as long. Yes. As those that liked him.
Yes. Exactly.
Because they both want to hear what the hell he's going to talk to, what the hell he's going to say.
Exactly.
Which to me is nuts.
That's nuts.
I'm not listening to somebody I don't like.
I totally agree.
Twice as long.
I totally agree. People will come up to me and they go, "Did you see what so and so said?" And I'm like,
"No,
I don't listen to them, or I don't watch them. I don't. I just don't feel like I have the energy to put into it. But I do feel like it takes just as much. Hating somebody is it takes energy to hate someone.
Oh yeah.
Right. It takes maybe the same amount of energy, or maybe even less, though, to love somebody, or to let them know how great they're doing, or to give them an attaboy.
But
I love that. I love to be.
There are some things in the world that's good. Like, I hate the Dallas Cowboys.
I do. Well, let's see. Do I hate the Dallas Cowboys?
Terry.
I'll put it like this. I do enjoy when they lose. I will say that. I do enjoy when they lose.
Terry, I hate the Cowboys more than I hate the Klan.
Okay. Okay. That's some hate.
I'm from Houston.
No, I understand. I understand.
Antoine, Henry, huge Cowboys fans.
Yeah.
I enjoy them in pain.
Oh, I agree with that. I do.
I'm talking about to the point they're like, why you keep sending stuff? Because you're lost.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
you and Stephen A. Smith.
No. I'm on a whole different level than Stephen A.
No, I know.
I came out the womb
hating
the Cowboys.
Yes, I get it.
So just that. So that's the only thing I say.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep some hate. I'm gonna keep that hate for them.
Yeah.
But you're right about the love. I do the same thing. talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Out here, if it's a song, if somebody created a viral video, yo, that was funny. Yeah. I just want to let you know, this person like, you said, I'm like, yo, that was just funny.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, yeah, I got a kick out of that. And yeah, and I think people are shocked by it.
I think people are shocked by it, and I also think that you never know when a text is going to really change somebody's
right
day.
There.
I was in Abu Dhabi, actually, probably 2 or 3 months ago with the Recording Academy. We were doing something over there. And we were all talking about, I won't say his name, but somebody who's a very high up, a person at one of the companies. And the conversation was how this person had helped them in some way. Like, oh, that person helped me, and this person helped me, and this person helped me. And I thought, oh, yeah, that's cool. So I just texted him, and I just said, hey, I'm on a bus in Dubai, or in Abu Dhabi going to Dubai, whatever. And 3 people are talking about you in a really positive way, so just wanted to let you know you're being thought of. And he hit me back, and he said, you don't know what this text means to me right now. Because they were going through something, and it just really, right?
There you go.
So that when I say leaving things unsaid, sometimes it's spoken, but sometimes it's just that little text where I'll see somebody on TV, and I'll take a picture of it, and I'll go, hey, just saw you on whatever, and send it to them, and they just go, wow. It just means a lot to people.
And no matter what level of your career are,
right.
you can. I don't care who you can be at the top. Look, again, we're at All-Star Game, and I'm trying to think. This was the first time I met Allen Iverson. Maybe I covered it. Never really met him before.
Yeah.
And how he greets me. And I was like, and he greeted me, and I'm used to that because obviously he's seen.
Yes.
So it was like Saturday night.
Yep.
We're at a party. Well, the next night we're at another party. Comes in with his crew, and so a group of these guys are taking a photo. And so I said, yo, I need to get in this photo. And at different points, each one of them at night, they would see me, they would say something.
Yes.
And they were like, no, come on up here. And each one of these brothers, young cats, started nodding, and AI reaches over and he starts, brother, what you mean, what you do, I watch your stuff, I love you. And he grabs the back of my head and he's hugging me.
Uh-huh.
And he's holding, and then with both hands. And he's just speaking. He's like, it may be stuff that we disagree on. He said, but we gotta stick together. But what you're doing for black media or whatever.
Yeah.
And I tell people all the time, whether it's an AI, whether it's somebody who just walked, how you touch somebody, a commentary, an interview or whatever, you have no idea. Which is why also people are like, man, you take selfies with everybody. I'm like, do you know what that photo means to that person?
Right, that's right.
I said, to a celebrity, no. I said, but they gonna go back home, they gonna show everybody. I know people who have printed photos out.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times, folk who are at certain levels, they forget what that means. And our buddy George Lopez tells the story all the time. when him and some other Latino kids went to the set of Chips, and who's the guy?
Eric Estrada?
Eric Estrada blew them off.
Oh.
And to this day,
right,
George rips him on stage at every time.
Yeah.
And I tell people all the time, you just don't know who you encounter.
Yes.
And just what that moment, that thing could just flip a kid.
Yes.
To your point, they could be having an awful, you just don't know.
But I've gotten texts from people I know because it's happened to me where I've woke up and maybe had having a rough day or for whatever reason, or things are going wrong. And I get a text out of the blue from someone who's heard something, saw something, whatever, and it just totally changes my whole day. And I want to be able to do that for people. I'm not doing it so that happens.
Right.
But if that's the result, then to me, by just kind of saying something, I just think it's important to do that. So I'm always very aware of that. And it's funny, the selfie thing is really funny because when, just coming through Grammy week here not that long ago, obviously we're taking pictures with everybody and that whole thing. But what was interesting to me was like the staff and the PR team and all the people that sets things up.
Right.
I always make sure they're setting it up for everybody else. I always hop in a selfie with them.
There you go.
And I always go, let's do a selfie together.
Okay, I'm about to crack you up.
Yeah.
So we go to the White House.
Yeah.
So Christmas party, so the photo with the president.
Yes.
So when they have the food in all different rooms. Well, so in one of the rooms, one of the small dining rooms, it's actually where the food prep is going on.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of black people working at the White House.
Yes, there is.
At the White House. So
yes, sir.
I always go into that room.
I do. Yes, I have to.
And
I've only gone one time, but I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
And so one year, one of the white ushers, he comes in. So it's like all the chefs, and not everybody's black.
Yeah.
But they're like, oh my God, Roland.
Yes.
And so the guy comes in. He's like, sir, you can't be back here. They're like, hey, we got to get our picture. Hold on.
Right.
And so we're back there, and I walk out. Somebody's like, what were you doing? I said, well, the president, he downstairs taking pictures.
Right.
I said, I'm upstairs taking pictures.
Yes.
But and so I run into a sister and all these different media people there. Mm-hmm. She worked at the White House like 37, 40 years.
Yes.
And she says, listen, you the only person here I want to meet.
Right.
And I said, well, guess you want to get a photo. And she's like, I don't have no phone. So I said, fine, I take a picture of my phone. I said, what's your email? I don't have no email. So I sit here and I get her information, and I totally forget. Mm-hmm. So Reggie, who was the flight attendant on Air Force One, who the Obamas hired, even when they left the White House. Mm-hmm. So Reggie's like, Roland, a year later, man, so-and-so still waiting for that picture. Jimmy, I'm not lying. I had to go to Walgreens.
Right.
Print the photo out.
Yeah.
Sign the photo.
Yep.
And mail it to her.
I love it.
I did all that, and he said, "Oh my gosh, she got it," and she just loved it.
Yeah.
And again, I forgot the first time, did forget the second time.
Yep.
But that means something.
Yes, it does. It's so important, man.
That means something. Now Henry not gonna like me telling this story. So, Henry, over there directed. Mm-hmm. Henry, daddy had a birthday. Mm-hmm. So Henry comes to me in the studio. He's like, hey man, my daddy got the birthday. Can you make this video for him? I was like, so I hit record. All right, Petey, what's up? I'm here with your punk ass son, Henry. He goes, stop. Dog, you can't be calling me punk ass. I said, listen, this shit free.
Right.
Okay, you asked for the video, I'm gonna do the video my damn way.
Right.
He turns back on. I do the same thing.
Right.
Man, he played the video. He came back, he said, my daddy was having grown man tears crying. Henry he's like, run that back. He got what's up, punk ass. He said, man, my dad was crying laughing.
Right.
I tell people, it's just a simple thing.
It is.
You just don't know how it touches people. So I don't get when people trip on that stuff. Because that's the fans.
I used to tell it's funny because when I go places with my kids, because I take my kids everywhere with me when they were younger, right? And we'd always be like the people, closing whatever room was down, right?
Same here.
Because I'd be taking pictures.
Yep.
Back in the day it was autographs, but it was like, okay, so we're doing it. And my kids would always go, Dad, why do we have to be the last ones here? Like, do we have to be? And I said, you don't know where these people have come from. People could have came from, miles away, and
There you
this
go.
might be their only opportunity to ever say hello.
Yep.
And I want to make sure that I acknowledge them.
That's right.
So interestingly enough, I was estranged from my dad for almost 50 years.
Wow.
And we reconnected a couple of years ago through some circumstances. And so when I went to Minneapolis, I actually took my younger son with me because he had never met his grandson. Right. And my father launched into these stories, which were the same stories I told my kids. And he said to them, I used to be at the end of his gigs, because he plays keyboard and stuff. He said at the end of his gigs, he'd always be the last one there signing autographs and taking pictures with people and stuff. And I just said to him, I said, now you know where I get it from. Now you see that. So my values and the things that I think are important as far as kind of humanity and the way you treat people, do unto others, that's where I get it from. But he had a chance to tell that story and give him advice and all of that.
Right.
So to me, yeah, there's nothing more important than that. And just
But that's what...
Treat people how you want to be treated.
But also, that's who makes us us.
Yes.
If they stop... I tell people, be concerned if they never ask you for a photo.
Yep.
If they never speak to you.
Yep.
I said, I said, never assume that they're going to always be there.
Right.
That's the thing for me. It is just listen. I just... A brother came up to me, Jimmy, in Atlanta. And a woman just did it to me in Salt Lake. He walked to me, airport in Atlanta. He said, thank you. I said, bro, appreciate it. He went, no. Thank you. And walked off.
I love when that happens.
I knew exactly what I knew exactly what he was talking about.
Yes.
That's all he said. Didn't give me his name.
Right.
I tell people all the time, man, we be out somewhere in my fan base, they'll walk up and they'll literally put money in my hand for our fan club.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I was live. I was live on the air.
Right.
Woman walks up, she grabs my hand, she squeezes it.
Yeah.
And she squeezes it twice and walks off.
Yeah.
So I knew exactly what she was talking about.
Yes.
And for her, it was $100.
Yeah.
She didn't want her name mentioned.
Yeah.
She was like, that's for the show to keep going. I tell people, I get emotional every time because it means something to them.
Yes. No, to be able to touch people in a way like that is, it's divine, I guess is the word I use again. Yep. There's something about it that just means so much when people do that and when they take the time to do that. And I always appreciate that. I remember long time ago when we were working with Michael Jackson, and I remember we worked in Minneapolis, and he loved working in Minneapolis because he could go to the Mall of America with a ski mask on.
Right.
Nobody thought anything of it. And he could just walk around and be as normal as he wanted to be. But I always said, I think it was it might have been Richard Dreyfuss, I think might have been the one that said there's a certain level of kind of fame that you get where you can get into the restaurant. You get a good table at the restaurant.
Right.
But you can actually get through your meal without being bugged. And that's the level that you would want to be. And that's the level, when people come up to me, it's never, Jimmy Jam. It's never that. It's always, brother, appreciate what you do.
There you go.
That kind of thing. I love that. So that's perfect to me.
Yep.
So that's, I don't know, Richard Dreyfuss level.
Last question for you.
Yes, sir.
What have you really, really, really wanted to do, but you've yet to do? That you really, you still want it, it's still just, I want to do that.
There's so many things. There's such a long list of things. So when we went in the Songwriters Hall of Fame, which was, 6 years ago now, I think, they asked us, what is it that you guys haven't done yet? And I remember Babyface was with us on the carpet, and we looked at Babyface and we said, well, we always wanted to do a song with Babyface. So we accomplished that.
Yep.
We said we never finished our own album, our own Jam & Lewis album. So we finished that. Check that off. The third thing we said was we never went out and performed our own music live. And of course, COVID stopped that from happening. But that's the thing I'm looking forward to doing, is going out and playing basically a virtual jukebox of music and memories in front of people.
Y'all gonna do it?
We are hoping to do it. We are talking about it now. We've been talking about it for the last couple of years, but now that things are clearing up a little bit, we plan on doing it.
That would be fire.
That is something we would love to do.
That would be, and who would it be?
It would be us and whoever. It doesn't, see, in my mind, it doesn't even matter. It's just hearing, it would be no different than if a DJ said, like if D-Nice said, I'm going to do Jam and Lewis night.
Right.
And he might have, might have Sherelle or Alexander O'Neal, or might have a few people. It doesn't even matter. It's just hearing those songs in a place with everybody and all those memories coming back to you. So basically, it's like, when I was young and I DJ'd, one of the things I did was I would play records, but I also had my synthesizer hooked up. So I would play along with the records and make them like my own versions of the records. It would basically be that. You'd have us playing our own music.
Right.
And then according to where we're at, we have different people come out and do stuff.
Oh, that'd be a jam session.
It'll just be, that's really what it is.
That'd be a jam session.
That's exactly what it is. So that's what we're looking forward to doing.
Okay, this will be the last question. What, yeah, I'm like a Baptist preacher.
Okay.
Is there an artist or a group that a lot of people may not be aware of that you should say, y'all should check them out?
There's a few. The two that come to mind, or actually I'll say the three that come to mind. And I might be saying their name wrong. There's a group called Khruangbin.
Okay.
They're out of Houston.
Really? Okay, I definitely got to look them up.
It's 3 people. It's a drummer, a bass player girl, and a guitar player. Most amazing threesome ever to me. And their influences run, they did a concert at the Greek Theater that I went and saw them, and they played everything from Nothing But a G Thing to you name it. Every possible influence that you could think of. Isley Brothers, that's their thing.
Wow.
It's amazing. I think Questlove turned me on to them.
Okay.
So they're amazing. There's a producer named Inflow, and I would say he's a UK producer. Anything that he touches to me is the best music being made.
Whoa.
His wife is named Cleo Soul. She had my favorite album of, I guess, 2021 called Mother. And it was about her having a child and the way that she looked at the way her mother raised her. And that's what the whole album is about. But he's also involved with a group called SAULT, which is SAULT. And SAULT has a ton of things. Matter of fact, I think the latest thing they released might have been like 7 volumes of music. And it's everything from orchestral to like operatic to, I mean, you name it. And I got to meet him, which was very cool. He was working in LA. He was working at A&M, which is now Henson Studios. Mm-hmm. But I told him, the room you're working in, you realize that crystal on the wall, that was Joni Mitchell's crystal. And you realize this is the room that Carole King's Tapestry was done in. And he was just like blown away by the history. But the very first song on the Cleo Soul album sounds just like a Carole King song. You know what I'm saying? So there's connections there. So those two. So Khruangbin, I'm saying it wrong, and Inflow.
Inflow, the producer.
Inflow is the producer.
Salt's
but anything that he touches,
wow,
he's the one.
INFLOW, or is it spelled?
It's INFLO.
Got it. Okay.
INFLO. He did some things on. I'll tell you something I love about this brother. So he did some songs on the latest Adele album, and I was actually with Adele, and Adele was talking about how great he was and that whole thing. He wouldn't tell me that he did it, and so after the record came out, I said, "Okay, I see your name all over the record here," and he said, "Yeah." He said, "I just wanted to protect the artist." He said, "I'm always protective of the artists I work with." And I just love that about him. It takes a lot of integrity to not brag about that kind of stuff,
right.
But he's not that kind of guy. Okay. So he's an impressive guy. There's a singer I love.
No device capable of audio playback connected.
Siri.
Technology.
Siri.
Thank you, Siri. No, you know what? It's funny. It's telling me. Wait, I got to read this. It says, Cleo Soul album sounds just like Carole King. Oh my God! So it's talking about Khruangbin. Oh, Khruangbin, whatever app. KHRUANGBIN.
Okay. KHRUA. Okay.
NG. Oh, now it turned off. Oh, wait. Yeah.
We got it the first time.
Yeah, we got it. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, so lastly, I told you how I love going on social media in the morning and just seeing what I can find. So there's a girl named Meta, Maeta. She's signed to Rock Nation, and she was doing a live. And her live on Instagram, she basically was, there was maybe 100 people on it. People would call out a song, and she'd just sing it a cappella. I thought her voice was the most beautiful voice I'd ever heard. So at one point, she just says, hey, is anybody so I started screen recording it, right? So she said, does anybody screen record this? Because I forgot to whatever. So I hit her back, and I said, hey, I'm screen recording it, whatever. And she goes, wait, is this Jimmy Jam? Wait, is this Jimmy Jam? Like, whatever.
Right.
And I said, yes, it's me. And so anyway, I sent her the whole thing. So that got us talking and stuff. And so she ended up coming by the studio. She played us a bunch of stuff that she was working on for her album. My comment was my critique, I guess, would be, there's too much production. I enjoy just hearing your voice. So to me...
It should be overproduced.
It shouldn't be overproduced. So she had an interlude song that she was working on that was just an interlude, just a simple little interlude. And she said, we couldn't come up with anything else for it. And I told her A&R guy, I said, send me the stems for that. And I made it into a song, right? I put strings on it. Right? And I said to her, this is the kind of stuff I hear you doing. So I sent it to Jay Brown at Rock Nation. And Jay hit me back right away and says, hey, you want to executive produce the album? And I said, yes.
All based off a screen recording.
Yes, off a screen recording. So, and we'll see whether we do it or not. But it's just, that's to me the kind of things the three things that I would say I'm most excited about. There's others, but those are the ones that pop into my mind that you can't go wrong with listening to those right now.
All right.
Yeah.
Man, I'm glad we finally got a chance to do this.
I know. This is fantastic.
Because the folks should understand, you know how I feel about music.
Yes.
So you will send me something, you're like, hey, I know how you feel. Listen to this.
Yes.
Listen to this.
Yes. Well, there's certain people when I make music, quite honestly, I'm always say we're very selfish. We make music that we like.
Right.
And then hope other people like it. Well, the other people we want to like it are people like you. There's people like you. There's people like Questlove. There's people like Greg Fillinganes. There's certain people who we feel we're speaking that language. And if we're doing it in the right way, you're going to go, oh, yeah, hell yeah. You know, it's going to be the oh, shit. Moment,
that's right.
That's what we're looking for. So that's why it's important. That's why it's such a pleasure to have this conversation with you, man. This has been, like I say, you're getting my day off to a wonderful start.
I enjoyed it. Appreciate it, my brother.
The best.
Always good to see you.
Yes, sir.